Ash's adventure is iconic, and all started on that fateful day, when he woke up late and received Pikachu. However, what if things ended up differently? Sure, we could have Ash wake up on time, but he's not the only person at fault here. I mean, Professor Oak only had 3 Pokemon to give to 4 trainers who were supposed to begin their journeys. That's not exactly good math for the world's most renowned professor. So what if we changed that? What if Professor Oak was prepared? Well, let's find out. We start out in Pallet Town. Once again, due to Ash's excitement, he oversleeps and is late to the professor's lab. However, this time he arrives to find that nobody's chosen their starter yet. This is due to Professor Oak making them wait until everyone was there. So no early bird getting the worm, or in this case, the Pokemon. Gary does make fun of Ash, calling him out for making them wait, to which Ash has to apologize, before the 4 get to see their starters. This grouping of 4 is Abra, Machop, Ghastly, and Geodude. This surprises them all, as they were expecting to pick between Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. However, Professor Oak explains that due to this year's batch containing 4 trainers, as opposed to 3, he decided to prepare this group instead. Due to his old age, he had to call in a few favors, but thankfully, he got them together in time. This annoys Gary a bit, as now he won't be able to get the Pokemon he was wanting. It also makes it more difficult for the others, as none of them were expecting this outcome. Ash especially can't decide, as each one of them looks cool to him upon first glance. However, one ends up sticking out the most to him. While all 4 seem to be powerful in their own right, Machop is the one to end up catching Ash's eye, due to his powerful physique and readiness to battle. So, Ash decides to pick Machop as his starter. This then gives Gary an idea as to what he should choose, so he picks Ghastly. The ghostly Pokemon immediately shows its more comedic side, which makes Gary start questioning his decision. Professor Oak gives a somber smile at this, before telling Ash and Gary to raise those 2 well, as he was able to get them with help from 2 very powerful Cantonian trainers. The last 2 trainers then pick Abra and Geodude respectively. So after Professor Oak gives the new trainers the essentials they'll need for their journey, and Ash's mother gives him some extra things and says her goodbyes, Ash is off on his journey. Like in the original, Ash is pretty excited to be on his adventure and catch new Pokemon. So he and Machop immediately begin searching for wild Pokemon. They first run into a Pidgey, which Ash has Machop attack in order to weaken it. However, much to Ash's surprise, Machop ends up quickly defeating Pidgey in battle and causing it to flee. Ash praises Machop for its power, but tells it to try and not scare away the Pokemon so that way he can catch it. Machop doesn't like the idea of holding back though, but does agree to at least attempt. The 2 decide to continue forward, hoping to find more Pokemon as they go. Unfortunately, their next encounter with a Rattata doesn't go well, as the timid normal type runs away before Ash can really do anything. Frustrated by this, he and Machop just decide to continue onwards, not running into much until they get to a river. Due to how long they'd been walking for, Ash decides to take a break, eating some snacks he has in his bag. However, when he tries to offer some to Machop, he finds the fighting type lifting nearby rocks above his head. He actually finds this pretty impressive, telling Machop how strong it is. Machop smiles at this, before tossing the rock across the river, causing it to land in the center with a loud sploosh. Deciding to test his Machop's strength, Ash points out a larger rock, asking if Machop can lift that one. Machop nods, before doing so, albeit with a little more difficulty. Does a little workout with the larger rock, before throwing it into the river as well. The two continue doing this, bonding over the challenge as Machop continues to work out and throw the boulders into the river. However, after throwing a particularly large one, the two find that the Pokemon living in the water aren't too happy with their casual tossing game, as after a brief light comes from the water, a vicious blue monster surfaces from the depths, holding a boulder in its mouth that it smashes in one bite. Pulling out his Pokedex, Ash identifies the Pokemon as Gyarados. Seeing that they've angered the powerful Pokemon, Ash tells Machop they should run. Unfortunately for him, his partner Pokemon takes the Gyarados' appearance as a challenge, choosing to hold their ground instead. Surprised, Ash asks if Machop is really sure it wants to fight the Gyarados. The fighting type nods, and so Ash decides that if his partner really wants to, then they'll give it their all. Machop takes on Gyarados with everything it has, using its powerful low kick attack to bravely combat the tackles and bites of the atrocious Pokemon. Gyarados is a fierce opponent, though, and puts up a fight that leaves Ash and his newest Pokemon on the back foot. However, when it seems like Machop is going to be defeated, Ash steps in between the two, telling Gyarados that the battle is over, and apologizes for dropping a boulder on its head. Ash tries to reason with the Gyarados, but the violent water type is well beyond that and gets ready to attack. Just as it's about to reach Ash, Machop leaps in the way, protecting its trainer by using Counter. Gyarados reels back before attempting to bite again. Before Ash can command Machop, the starter Pokemon attempts to hold back Gyarados, grabbing the powerful jaws of the atrocious Pokemon. The fighting type attempts to push back against it, but it's losing ground fast. Ash tries to think of something he can do to stop this. Then he remembers the Pokeballs he has on hand. So he takes one out and tosses it at Gyarados. Gyarados goes inside the ball, which drops to the ground, shaking back and forth multiple times. Machop and Ash stare at it, ready just in case it would break out. But it doesn't. Ash is unable to realize what just happened at first, but then it dawns on him. He had just caught a Pokemon. Now, with the day still young, Ash is able to make it to Viridian City. With him getting there earlier than normal, he doesn't have any trouble making it to the Pokemon Center. As his Machop and Gyarados are getting treated, he makes a quick call to his mother, like in the original. But other than that, there's not really much going on. Ash got there early, so no Team Rocket, or even seeing Ho-Oh on Route 1. Ash just heals up his Pokemon, and decides to head on to Pewter City while there's still daylight. So, he makes his way to Viridian Forest. Due to not having Misty with him, he doesn't end up meeting Caterpie. So, bye-bye Butterfree. Instead, he just ventures through the forest, camping out once it becomes nightfall. In the morning, he continues on until he runs into Samurai. Like in the original, he and Samurai battle. However, he finds out he's actually the third trainer from Pallet Town that Samurai has fought. The battle actually goes pretty quickly, however. Gyarados does a lot of damage to Pinsir, but almost loses control upon Pinsir using Vice Grip to critically damage it. So Ash switches to Machop, who manages to finish off Pinsir before easily dispatching Metapod. Just before Ash and Samurai part ways, the two hear a loud cry, before a girl comes running by with a horde of Beedrill chasing her. Not wanting to get caught up in the swarm, Ash and Samurai run alongside her, before they manage to make it to Samurai's cabin. Inside, the girl apologizes, before introducing herself as Seda. It takes him a moment, but Ash actually remembers her from Pallet Town and Professor Oak's lab, meaning she's actually a fellow Pallet Town trainer. Samurai asks if they could battle once the Beedrill swarm leaves, but Seda refuses, stating she only has one Pokemon, and it doesn't have any attacking moves. It's then she brings out her Abra, who's suffering from poison. While Samurai grabs an antidote to heal it, Seda explains that she was going to try and catch a Weedle, but ended up alerting those Beedrill on accident. Samurai and Ash are both a little confused upon hearing this, as they don't see why Professor Oak would give someone a Pokemon that couldn't defend itself. However, Seda does mention that her Abra knows how to teleport. Unfortunately, that really only allows for evasion more than anything. Seda admits that while she's not much of a battler, she feels it would be best to at least have some way of defending herself in case she's attacked by a wild Pokemon. Ash and Samurai both agree to this problem, but aren't really sure what can be done about it. Ash then notices Machop taking a particular interest in Abra. Knowing that his partner loves to train, he suggests that maybe he and Machop could help Abra learn a move to help protect itself and Seda. The Pallet Town girl thanks Ash, but is unsure of what Machop would be able to teach Abra. So, Ash decides to pull out his Pokedex. Based on what Dexter says about his partner Pokemon, Machop currently only knows Low Kick, Leer, Focus Energy, and Counter. Seeing as Abra can only learn one of those moves, they decide to teach it how to use Counter. Ash, Seda, and Samurai spend the next few hours trying to show Abra how to manifest its power, like Machop, in order to use the attack. Abra actually shows itself to be pretty intelligent, catching on relatively quickly on how to do it. So most of the work is on perfecting it. Abra spars with Machop and Pinsir for quite a while, figuring out how to take the hit, and muster up the energy to counterattack. Soon, Abra seems to have done it. Seda thanks them and decides to test it out on her own. At first, Ash challenges her to a battle. Samurai suggests that they start small, finding a Caterpie that Seda could try battling. Abra battles the Caterpie, and sure enough, it's able to use Counter effectively when the small bug Pokemon goes for tackle. However, rather than continuing the battle, Seda decides to capture the Caterpie for herself. With a second team member, she feels much safer journeying through the Kanto region. Seda thanks Ash and Samurai once again for her help. The three get to talking, and Ash and Seda both learn that they're planning on heading to Pewter City. Seeing as how much help Ash was able to give her, Seda actually asks if she could come along with him. At first, Ash isn't sure, but Machop seems to like her, and thinks she could be a good sparring partner. So he agrees, and the two head on their way. By the time they make it to Pewter City, the sun's already going down. Ash takes a rest on some rocks, and the two end up meeting Flint. The rock salesman shows the two where the Pokemon Center is, where they can rest for the night. It's there that they bump into Gary Oak. Surprised, Ash asks what Gary's doing there. Gary plainly states that he was here to get a badge so he could participate in the Pokemon League. This is where Ash learns about how the Pokemon League and gyms work, and seeing as Gary is competing, Ash decides he wants to as well. Unfortunately for him, he'll have to wait till the morning, as the gym is currently closed. This is where Flint comes back in, talking about Brock, who gave Gary his first badge. He's skeptical of Ash's ability to win, although after Ash shows him Machop, Flint becomes a little less scornful. Flint wishes Ash good luck, and heads off. Gary also chooses to leave as well, saying that this time of night is the perfect time to train Ghastly. Ash and Seda, on the other hand, decide to call it a night. getting a bite to eat before going to sleep. In the morning, Ash wakes up bright and early to take on the gym. He and Seda rush over to the gym, heading inside the rocky building. They head into a dark room that, with a snap of the fingers, becomes a brightly lit stadium with a rocky battlefield. It's at this moment, Ash and Seda are introduced to Brock. Ash challenges him to a battle, and after a few questions from Brock, they begin. Starting off is Machop against Geodude. Machop starts off strong, only for Brock to show off his hard as rock defenses, while also being able to land powerful attacks as well. Still, despite how strong Brock is, Machop is able to pull through and get the win. Next up, Brock sends out Onix. At first, Ash thinks it might be a good idea to switch, but Machop argues this, wanting to stay to fight the massive rock snake himself. Ash decides to allow this, but it quickly becomes a mistake on his part. With powerful tackles and digs, Brock makes it very difficult for Machop to get a hit in. So as Ash is about to get Machop to pull off a counter, Onix stops it by using Bind. Machop is wrapped up in Onix's tail and squeezed tightly. That's the end for Ash's starter. So he has to leave it up to Gyarados. The Serpentine battle is actually a lot more vicious, as Gyarados and Onix slam into each other constantly, little by little draining each other of health. Onix tries to use Bind again, but Gyarados is much too big, allowing it to break free of the attack easily. It then strikes with a powerful bite. However, Brock chooses to use this as the perfect time to go for Rock Throw. The attack strikes Gyarados critically, which makes the atrocious Pokemon lose control and go on a rampage. Unable to do anything, Ash calls Gyarados back into its Pokeball, choosing to forfeit the match. Before Ash leaves, Brock scolds Ash for not properly training his Pokemon, saying that if Gyarados had been trained right, then it would obey Ash and not lose control like it did. Upset, Ash runs out of the gym, with Seda following not too far behind. As Ash runs out of the gym, he bumps into Flint once more. Flint simply tells him to come with him. Seda catches up to him, and the two are brought to Flint's home, where he makes them both some tea. Ash still feeling dejected after the loss to Brock, especially considering he had the advantage with Machop and Gyarados. Flint nods, reminding them of his skepticism. He figured that Ash wasn't ready to beat Brock just yet, but he chose to rush into things because of that guy he talked to at the Pokemon Center. Ash corrects Flint, saying Gary isn't just any guy. The two of them had been rivals since they were babies. Gary's always been 2 steps ahead of him, so he thought if he could beat Brock quickly, then he'd be able to catch up to Gary and show him that he's a good trainer. Although it doesn't matter anymore. Brock's too strong, and unlike him, the gym leader properly trains his Pokemon. Flint nods, saying Brock certainly is a skilled trainer. In fact, he could probably excel outside the role of gym leader if he tried. Seda asks why Brock hasn't, to which Flint simply states that Brock has his reasons. It's at this point Flint takes them to Brock's house, where they see him taking care of his 9 brothers and sisters. Here they learn about how Brock's good-for-nothing father left him on a journey, while his mother abandoned them supposedly out of heartbreak. Because Brock was the eldest, he inherited the gym and all the responsibilities belonging to the head of the household. Ash sympathizes with this, as he doesn't really see his dad much either. However, seeing this, he now becomes fired up to try and beat Brock again, much to the shock of Seda and Flint. Ash states that Brock is a skilled trainer, while also being a good older brother to his younger siblings. If Brock can do all of that, then why should he give up on becoming a good trainer? he's sure if he just trains his Pokemon better, then he'll be able to beat Brock. Seda asks what Ash is supposed to do. Gyarados doesn't listen to him fully, and he can't just rely on Machop alone. Ash isn't really sure, though. However, Flint says that he could help Ash. The two are confused by this, asking what Flint would be able to do in order to help him. Flint smiles, before revealing that he was actually a pretty strong trainer in his prime. While he's nowhere near what he once was, he still has his Pokemon from back then, and still has the knowledge that helped him become so strong in the past. The offer sounds almost too good to be true, but Ash really likes the sound of it. Seda asks Ash if he's sure he wants to go through with it, if he takes too long. Then Gary's just going to keep getting ahead of him. This makes Ash a little uncertain, but he ultimately decides that if he gets stronger now, then he might become stronger than Gary, and quickly catch up to him in the future. So Ash agrees to train with Flint, to which the bearded rock salesman says that their training will begin right now. However, that's where we are going to leave things for right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this brand new What If. If you did, be sure to leave a like and comment your thoughts down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you are new. Let's get this video to 50 likes, and I'll do part 2. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!